Hi, welcome to MVP, and today we're talking about what life is like at CTEC. I'm Lucy Guess, a senior at DeSoto High School. I'm Bella Guess, also a senior at DeSoto High School.
And I'm Reed Ellis, a senior at Mill Valley.
Okay, so Reed, you want to start us off with how you got involved?
So with CTEC, I got involved in my freshman year when I joined robotics at the invitation of a friend. Patrick Mack graduated 3 years ago, and I knew him from Boy Scouts. He's a junior at...
Isn't he at Wichita?
Wichita, yes. So yeah, he invited me to join robotics. I joined robotics, and robotics, starting my freshman year actually, started doing our meetings at CTEC. And so I got used to the space for my freshman and sophomore year, and I knew I wanted to take robotics, I knew I wanted to take comp sci, my sophomore year. I knew I wanted to do all these things because I wanted to do computer science for a career. And
I think your freshman year was the first year of CTEC, right?
It would have been, I believe.
Yeah.
All of ours.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was still under construction during COVID.
Yeah.
What else? So yeah, I took quite a few classes. I've taken quite a few classes at CTEC, not I took 4 classes last year, a full day. I had digital electronics, makerspace, which was called emerging tech at the time, and computer science principles, and then robotics. And this year I'm just taking CSA, which is computer science A, cybersecurity, then I have a TA in the afternoon, and I have robotics capstone. How'd you guys get involved?
I can go first. Yeah. So we took ACT prep with Mr. McLeod our sophomore year, because that's when we were still at Mill Valley. And he would always, it was a really fun class because he'd, talk a lot about the ACT, but in the science portion, he'd get to talk more about chemistry. And he kind of double bound me there because he convinced me to take not only AP chemistry, but then also take it at CTEC, so I had it with him. And it was a total coincidence, but I'm really glad that happened, because I fell in love with AP Chemistry. It's my favorite class I've ever taken. And I also took it was a fun class. And then I also took robotics last year, which was really fun. I learned a lot. And that's when I switched to wanting to go into engineering, because I wanted to be a lawyer. So that's why I didn't see a purpose really in going into CTEC, besides to have AP Chem with Mr. McLeod. So I'm really glad that I did it, because now I'm going into engineering. So this year I'm in, I took cybersecurity with you first semester, but then now I have the internship at Hudamaki in the mornings, so I'm just in AP CSA in the afternoon, and then robotics capstone as well.
Okay. Yeah, so I was also with Bella, standing right next to her whenever we were talking to McLeod, and the other person who was there talking about us, or talking about it with us, was Isaac Steiner, if you remember.
Yeah.
But we were there, and he was oh my gosh, it's great, and I'm okay, but yeah, people are giving me a lot of positive reviews, and it feels like it's not going to be like school. So I remember going into my junior year, that entire summer, I was panic emailing my counselor once a week, being hey, any update? Am I going to CTEC or not? Because then it would make it weird if Bella wasn't and I was, because the driving stuff. So then we did that, and then I ended up loving it. So now we have a full day, and
together, the 3 of us.
Yeah, except you're not here in the morning.
Yeah. Actually, that reminds me, you mentioned Isaac.
Yeah.
Not Isaac, but someone the year above him. Jordan, last name I'm forgetting. He dated my sister, basically all of high school though. And Jordan Esser. He dated my sister all of high school, and when I was chilling with him one time, he mentioned Mr. Pagel's emerging tech class. And suggested that I join it so I could work on projects, because he knew I was kind of a techie nerd who that freedom that class offered.
I think Miss Pagel makes the ambiance of CTEC. I feel he's very outgoing, creative, eccentric in a good way. So I feel he makes because how do you guys feel the ambiance of CTEC is?
No, I feel it's very heavily student led, which is really unique, because especially when I think about it, I'm well, if I'm doing a project and I don't know what to do, I'm okay, well, I should probably 3D print something. So then I'm just trying to find where Reed's at. Or if I'm doing something else, maybe Zach will be able to help or something. So it feels it's just such a collaborative community environment that's so built upon community. believe it or not, that was kind of a circle of a word salad, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. I think Miss Pagel, you wouldn't have all the same freedom. He sets up all the inter-class communication and lets it all kind of just run on its own.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like the type of teacher is like really important because I know like we have like Mr. Hessong and Mr. McLeod, and like they're able to give students enough freedom to be able to do the projects that we want to do, and also like help guide us and connect us with people who are able to help us with the projects we want to talk about and stuff. So like I know for us that looked like getting connected with Mr. Rodkey to do the solar panels, which like if we were with like a really strict teacher, I won't name, that like is at like a regular high school, then like we wouldn't have been able to do that. So it's just like, it just makes you so like appreciative of the teachers that are there, and like it makes you feel like they were very intentionally pegged for like this specific space and this specific student who gets involved here.
Yeah, I think the teachers, it's not even just like who gets picked even. I think teaching at Mill Valley, not Mill Valley, CTEC, has a certain effect on teachers that makes it a lot less likely to cause burnout and makes a lot higher like job satisfaction almost for a lot of teachers. Some teachers maybe can't, like they see all the disorganized chaos or organized chaos, whatever you want to try and call it, but they see all that and they get kind of freaked out. But if you can handle that, you can get past that bump, then I feel like CTEC, you have students there who are interested in learning. They're not super upset that they have to be there. None of the kids here are kids who, well, most of the kids who are here want to be here, really. They don't want to, there's not too many things they would rather be doing at that time.
Well, you see that because they, like a lot of students stay after school until like whenever they can, really. Like,
yeah. You'll see me often being here till 4 when Jeffries leaves or Miss Pagel leaves or whoever leaves, and I'm just working on homework or finishing up a project that ran over time. I have to do that today. We'll see.
But speaking of projects and like the overall vibe of CTEC, what's your favorite memory? It's hard to pick.
Favorite memory?
I think like the first one that comes to mind is, I don't know if this is like specific, but I know like we all eat, like especially like first semester, we would all eat lunch together down in like the kitchen area. And I feel like that was always like a little nice moment of the day to just kind of relax and just kind of like talk to your friends, and just, it wasn't like a normal like lunchroom vibe, which was nice because it felt more like you got to actually talk to your friends.
Yeah, because it was just us.
Yeah.
There's only so many of us who are here all day or get here early enough to really have lunch here. And then there's enough space to spread out that kind of like, instead of groups being at each individual table, we had the entire like hall to ourselves to talk, joke around, and then get back to class eventually.
Eventually. Low-key, I think my favorite memory was the in-house challenge last year. I feel like that was kind of fun because, you know, you had all of... Because for those who don't know, on the MVP viewers, the way that it works is your junior year, you're able to take robotics class, which is where you kind of learn about the basics of like the Tetris kits. And then you also, during fourth quarter, you're able to build a robot for the in-house challenge that the capstone team makes. So this year we made the game because we're on the capstone team, but last year we played in the in-house challenge, and we had W7, the team that was set to win. Wait, what did you W? Is that a gang sign? I shouldn't do that. Don't say that. We were set to win. We had a really great robot with the 4-bar arm. It was amazing. And we were, in fact, the only team that did not make it to the elim rounds.
Yeah.
But
more like a bunch of owls. No, I ended up winning that competition. They didn't.
Not even close. I mean, like, in, like, the beginning, like, the rankings, we didn't do too bad.
But whenever we had a lot of points scored. But I feel like what was fun was, like, you had Josh emceeing the event. It was, like...
Vinod, yeah. Not very.
Yeah. And it was just, like, everyone was just having fun. It was very lighthearted. You got to get a peek into, like, the robotics competitions, which are, like, fun in and of itself. But then it was, like, just fun to be competing against your friends kind of in a joking manner, where it was, like, you got excited whenever you saw your friend win. Mm-hmm. It's not like that's what I think was cool about CTEC, like you're talking about earlier, is just the overall collaborative environment. It's like you're always happy to see your friends succeed, and you want to play a part in it if you can, of just like learning more about projects. So yeah, in-house challenge is my favorite. Read.
My favorite. So you said lunch, you said in-house?
Yeah.
I feel like one really cool activity that we did last year, I don't know if you guys made it to that, the OP, went to the other place for lunch one day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One day there was a assembly schedule at both schools, and what that means is there's a 2-hour lunch period at CTEC, where it's supposed to be like there's not any kids staying the full day, so they're at their assembly during that. But I was here the full day, so I didn't have to go back to the assembly. And a few other kids were doing the same thing. We went out to the other place and got food there. That was pretty cool. That kind of freedom.
Shu made fun of me for what I got. That's all I remember from that event.
Probably because you were gluten-free.
Probably.
Yeah. That makes sense. That sounds like something Shu would do. No, that sounds like something Shu would do.
Yeah.
But like also the KU engineering comps were really cool experiences. The K-State programming competition.
And hackathon.
Well, hackathon was a personal project, less of a CTEC project.
That's true.
So the KU competition, engineering competition, we went to, well, okay, honestly, it starts free competition.
Or I think Carter started in the summer.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Or I guess our group.
4
I
or
helped
5
where I
months.
could.
You helped, I'm sure.
I did. Carter would say I did.
Yeah. But I did my own group. Carter was on his group, and I heard he was doing it, so I said, well, I'm going to compete against Carter. Because he's a nerd over here writing in Python, simple language that works well. And that's lame. You got to use the really obscure languages meant for data science equations if you really want to be good at this. So I used an obscure language used for doing material science, data science, like analysis, because it was way faster.
But that was proven through because when you were doing the multidimensional arrays in the...
Yeah, it is a lot faster.
Yeah.
I did a computationally intense task one time with a computer where I ran a heat map simulation in Julia versus Python. Julia was the language I used, Python is the language that Carter used. And when I ran mine in Julia, it finished in like 3 seconds or something. Like it was basically
quick.
Immediate.
Yeah.
I ran the same thing in Python, and it took literally like 20 or 30 minutes. Like I had started a timer. I thought I'd be able to count it down like in seconds, but I had to start a timer because it took too long for me to count. Like it was... I had better things to do than sit there and count for 20 minutes.
I was going to say, I don't think I ever saw it generated.
Yeah, neither did I.
It generated.
Okay.
It took like 20 minutes though.
Yeah, I was like, I know.
That's kind of... it's a long time.
But it was running like something... It did something like... Was it a few billion calculations?
Yeah, it was like... It was either hundreds
a
of
lot.
millions, or I don't know if it got to billions.
I don't know. It was a lot of calculations, and Julia did it immediately. Python took for freaking ever.
Yeah.
But that was the KU competition. I programmed an application in Julia when it competed. Carter's group won because he had like 6 people and I was a one-man show.
Well, you had teammates who did not show.
Who did not show up
Or
to the competition or help program ahead of time.
But you did get a shout out.
I got a shout out for using that language. Carter won, but then they're like, we also had someone who wrote their program in Julia because they're a nerd. No, they didn't say that, but...
So you're the real winner.
I'm really the real winner.
Yeah,
I mean, it's clearly a competition who's the nerdiest. That's what the whole purpose was.
But
they should have given me the scholarship.
Someone did it on a DS.
Someone did do it on a DS. That was...
Because did everyone have the same weather app challenge? To
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was all the same challenge. It was posted months in advance. Like Carter started doing his during the summer.
Yeah.
Because I remember meeting at the library, and we talked about like college applications, and then we started doing that a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to beat Carter. I didn't beat Carter, unfortunately.
It's that gracious professionalism or cooperation that you see at CTEC.
Yeah, cooperation. That's a first robotics ideal. It's a club. And cooperation is cooperation plus competition.
Do you think that there's a lot of spillover between like your robotics club and the members at CTEC who take like the engineering tech classes?
There is a good amount of spillover. There's definitely still a lot of... Well, no, if I had to think about juniors and seniors, like the junior and seniors that are on the robotics team, a lot of them are at CTEC. Like, they're either taking the robotics class, taking digital electronics, taking something here, sim, even. Like, there are definitely juniors who don't take classes here, but especially a lot of the more productive manners, and I'm sure members of the robotics team are usually at CTEC. And I'm sure there's exceptions that I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
Where there's like, oh, it's a productive person who couldn't make it to CTEC for some reason of scheduling or another. But I feel like there's a lot of spillover there.
Yeah, and I know, like, I'm not, like, super interested in engineering, but I know, like, robotics was a great way to, like, explore that. But I know, like, also for scheduling conflicts was something that, like, I know we had to talk about because to take AP Lit, it was on a white day, but white day was when all the, like, the robotics classes with the cloud were, so it was, like, we had to get them to get another AP Lit block or whatever, and then it, like, filled up fast enough.
Which is because I feel like if you have an interest in CTEC, it's worth it to like talk to your counselors, like fight for it. Yeah, because I feel like I was trying to think about how I want to word it. I just feel like I've learned a lot through CTEC. Mm-hmm. So if you guys want to share like what's like the most important or most influential lesson you think you've learned at CTEC? Because there's just so much that
I think it's not even one lesson.
Yeah,
it's kind of a lot of lessons put together. Like just the building up of certain skill sets that you have made that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. So they mentioned, Bella, I think you mentioned my hackathon earlier. Mm-hmm. And so that was at K-State in November. I teamed up with Carter Tolman, Ethan Harshorn,
Josh Vinod,
who's at K-State. It was a competition that it set it in between the ages of like 13 to 1 year graduated out of college. So Y group, basically anyone from high school to 1 year out of college could compete, but if you were under 18, you had to have a chaperone. So it was really a college-focused competition.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. It was a 36-hour competition where you have to stay at K-State and you slept in.
Well, stay depending on the group because you guys had quite a different experience.
Yeah, we had a different experience. But yeah, so it was a college-focused like competition for college kids to just make something and then show it off to the judges in like a science fair kind of format. There was a bunch of tables on the ground and we put our stuff up and we showed it off to the judges as they came around. And there was a few different sets of judges. We ended up winning first in that. Overall. So we possibly beat out a team. I didn't go around and check who all was on the other teams. There were quite a few teams there. But it's entirely like plausible that we beat out a team that all have bachelors in computer science.
Yeah.
And relevant fields. And they made this project. And they made their project and we beat them as high schoolers. Like that skill set that we used to compete there is all just working on projects. Like college education and high school education is a lot of learning theoretical. CTEC, you'll learn hopefully theoretically when you go to college you'll realize that CTEC is you're learning things there that you'll never get a chance to do again. Like unless you're just going around working on like you'll learn it at work maybe, but outside of work you have to do projects on your own time or do them at CTEC like college or something like that. I was talking to Elena recently.
The Gilliland?
Elena Dill.
Oh.
Evelyn's older sister. I don't know. She's a sophomore at K-State. She used to be on robotics.
Rock Chalk.
K-State.
No, but that's my point.
To like balance it out.
Yeah.
But I was talking to her a few days back over spring break, and she mentioned she's doing like some bio stuff now at K-State, and our labs, which are across the way here, she mentioned that she misses them. Like they're so nice. Like she's like I didn't realize like how nice our facilities are here. So like in some ways, like our fume hoods, for example, are like notably very high quality, and like a college student who's playing with tools with a college budget is like, yeah, it's really cool.
And
experience.
I love the windows too, because like as you're watching your titration like just turn hot pink, you can like reconnect with nature.
Yeah, you can look out the window, see kind of what's going on. There's a lot of windows at CTEC, which helps work with that collaborative environment.
Yeah. So you'd say like your biggest lesson is just like all the skills that you've learned through your projects?
Yeah, I'm just getting practical experience. Like, the only, like, you can learn Ohm's law, but that's just an equation with 3 variables. P equals RV or whatever. Like,
yeah, I had to use that today.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
But exactly, but at CTEC, you actually get to use it in a real project and apply it like you would in the field because you're trying to do something. So you can use Ohm's law, CTEC, to actually make something, and then you see kind of like how theory changes to reality in really cool ways. Like, you can have a project where you, in computer science, for example, where you write a project that says hello world, and you learn how variables work. But until you create a project and like try and implement it in the real world, you don't know all those other steps. Like,
Right.
you don't know how to post your own website online or something.
Which is cool.
I think that, oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, I think that connects to like what my biggest lesson was, because I feel like for me it was like learning how to fail, because coming like off of the class, like I wasn't in like a whole bunch of honors classes or anything, but turning my junior year, I was taking a lot more APs and stuff, and it felt like there was such a strong environment of like you have to do everything perfectly, and if you don't get a 4.0, then like you're not gonna get where you want to go, and like then you're gonna be a worthless scum of the earth. You know, it got a little intense. But I think CTEC like really provided an environment where like I literally was not going to know how to do something. And like, for example, in the lab, like as I was taking my AP chemistry final, I was doing my titration and I watched it turn hot pink, knowing that I was going to get at least 20 points off my final for that. And it was just like, you kind of have to like put yourself in a situation where you're going to like not do well. And I think that connects back to what I was like originally talking about with like you have to have a good support system and like you have to have a good community. And like for me, like being able to talk to like McLeod or Hessong or Reed or Carter or whoever anytime to be able to work through what I'm solving, it just kind of helped me understand like the type of problem solving that I liked and that I want to take with me into my career, which is what like made me shift to want to do like neuroscience over like more of like astrophysics or something like that.
Yeah. I think for me, it was like learning how to rely on other people, because a lot of times like it's easy in group projects just to like be the lead and then do everything because you know like if you do it, it's going to turn out the way you want it to. But I think like CTEC, it's taught me to rely on other people first through the teachers. Like I've been very lucky and I've always had amazing teachers, but like especially like Mr. McLeod and Mr. Hessong and Mr. Miss Pagel specifically have been just super influential and like learning to like, they'll teach me the concepts and then when I go to apply it, they'll be there to help me, but they're gonna kind of make me do it on my own and I'll experience that discomfort and like learning and actually how to do it. So I think, and also like relying on people, like you guys are obviously like some of my closest friends and it's like, it's been really cool to be able to just like have all day to like mess around and do class with you guys. And it's like, I don't know, you guys know, Reed especially knows like literally, Reed is the face of CTEC. Like when you think CTEC, last year you'd think like Vinod, this year you think Reed.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you. It's like you kind of are like the person that a lot of people are like, oh, if you have a question, oh, just go find Reed or like go do this. Like, how does that affect like your CTEC experience? I guess because that's not as much time focused on like your own projects and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely I have a tendency to get involved in too many projects. I've got a lot of things that I'm working on, and there are definitely people where it's like in my position I have to help people. Thankfully, I generally like helping people. So I'm fine to step away from my project, get distracted, and help them out with that. Does mean I don't get my projects done as quickly, but I have the freedom at CTEC where I know that if I don't finish this project, there's like if I don't finish it in time, there's issues with that. Like this project right here, the one that I have on the table. This is a prosthesis for an actual human being. So if I don't make this, it's not, I've been working on it all semester, I'm going to get a good grade for it. And actually I think I'm doing this during my TA block, so I'm kind of going above and beyond anyways. I don't think I'm getting a grade for that. Again,
Classic
too many projects. But if I don't get it done though, the punishment is I told a guy who's missing fingers that I was going to make him a prosthesis, and then I let him down.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a big project there. So I need to learn that skill of, okay, how do I balance helping the people at CTEC and giving them knowledge and me working on my project. And I found that this year, a lot of that is just how much can I get them to do it without putting my hands on it ever. Because if I can just tell you how to do it, then you go do it. I can just sit there and work on my project and then get momentarily distracted, or if I stand up and go help you, it can be a bit more time sinky, time wasty. And you'll probably learn more anyway if I just tell you, here's what I would go do it, because then you have to physically figure it out.
No, you know what I do remember? I think, because I feel like I'm like your little apprentice, like I'll be a helping hand on your projects. One project I do remember is, it wasn't a project, we were cleaning out the resin printer.
Oh, when it was freezing?
It was so cold outside, and we brought the thing out, we were cleaning it out with, it smelled so bad. I remembered I couldn't touch anything, and it smelled really bad. And I remember I was cleaning it.
Yeah, was that just alcohol, or was that or was that like mixed with?
So the resin printer, that's isopropyl alcohol. Don't drink it. That is poison.
I packed it in with my lunch today. I know.
Unfortunate. But then you take a resin printout of the resin printer, and it's kind of covered in all this. Like you take the resin is a liquid, and you have this object in the resin. But if you pull it out of the resin, it's still dripping resin. So you put it in the isopropyl, and the non-cured resin gets washed off, but it stays in the isopropyl. So what it was when we cleaned the bath that one time is it had resin from literal months, possibly longer, of just different resin and other like chunks of bits in there, and it was pretty gross. And our whole goal was just to let the isopropyl evaporate, so we'd only be left with that junk, and we can throw the junk away because it gets cured by the UV from the sun.
Yeah, because we left it outside.
In the sun, yeah. And so the isopropyl evaporates in the heat, and all that's left is the now UV cured resin, because the sun also has UV energy.
Look at that. Educational.
Educational. Yeah. But yeah, just trying to get people to do as much of their own project as possible saves me as much time to do my project as possible. But I do need to help them, like, push them in the right direction.
But I think I think the reason why you're like such the face of CTEC is not necessarily because it is because you know how to do everything, but it's because like you took on the responsibility of learning how to do all of the 3D printers, the resin printer, the laser cutter, the machines in the shop. You know how to work a drill. Like, like it's like, I think that you show what CTEC should be for a lot of students is like taking advantage of the opportunities that you have. Like not very often can you go in the shop and have someone like calmly and slowly explain to you what things do in order for you to do it. And you're like quite smart, so you're able to figure it out pretty quickly, but it's like, I don't know, I think that's what's been nice about CTEC is like just the amount of learning that happens here. It's not just like the class setup where you know, which is good and helpful a lot of times of like you just need to learn the content and then be able to apply it. But it's like the application here at CTEC is like, okay, here's how it works. Now go figure out how it applies to your project. Yeah. It's like the annoying test questions where it's like testing like what you did but in a different way. So you're like, I don't know how to do this. But it's just constant. So I think you learn to embrace the discomfort. Yeah.
And you know everything has a purpose. Like I mentioned earlier, when you do bad at school, you get punished with the bad grade. And that sucks. Bad grades are not great. They're not fun, and bad GPAs make you feel bad because that's less money usually at college.
Yeah.
But here, your GPA is a little bit more safe. Like classes here aren't gonna be super punishing to your GPA, but you're gonna learn a lot because everything you're doing, like this is all stuff. Like if I wanted to go in, like I know how to make things now, for example. Like, if I want to make a website, I made a website. That's what people with jobs do. Like, someone's job is just making a website.
Yeah.
If you're a computer science major, everyone's like, oh, we need to know math to do computer science. Like, yes. But also, to upload a website, like, there's practical skills within that don't necessarily get taught right away. Or say you want to design some sort of tool that solves a solution. You need to know geometry so you can make it, But instead of just learning the geometry and then you have to figure out how to apply it later yourself, you're literally figuring out how to apply it. Like, you're going to learn the geometry. Like, if you need to know how to make a rectangle because you need to make a rectangle tool, you're going to figure that out. Yeah. You're going to figure out, like, if you need to know the math to figure out the center of a circle or, like, the length of a circle because that's relevant to one of your projects, you'll figure it out. So you'll end up learning important, like, topics that you usually just learn because you need to know it. But now you're learning it because it's required to finish your project. There's no, like, well, when are we going to use this in the real world? Because you're doing a real world task. But you're still figuring out that fundamental knowledge. You're just doing it in kind of the backwards order, which is more interesting, honestly.
We're working on a solar panel project, as you know, for implementing solar panels into CTEC, and like that's a challenging project for me to do because I'm not as like exposed to engineering stuff, but like I understand like kind of like the building process, but not necessarily the like, oh, here's a blueprint, figure out the area of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a C in honors math too. Not to put myself on blast like that, but I did. And like having to kind of go back and like learn skills. But yeah, like having to go back and like actually use those skills is just like really challenging. And I'm glad it's not like reflected in my grades because I do like fail a lot here to like, but like I get better, you know?
Well, I think that's the whole point of CTEC. It's like the opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like, what's nice is you see that reflected in teachers. Like, I don't want to keep circling back to Miss Pagel, but it's like he definitely sets the tone. And I think what's an iconic part of CTEC is if you end up coming here for any classes, you will get to experience a Miss Pagel rant at one point. And there's so many. Something cool too about CTEC is I do feel like there's more mental health awareness with the students here. I feel like if at my home high school, like not to put it like, I think that there is conversations that happen at DeSoto, but I think teachers here are more transparent about or specifically Miss Pagel is more transparent about mental health awareness and making sure, like checking in on your students and your fellow classmates and just making sure that you're all, you know, prioritizing yourself, having time for yourself. I know we talked about like, you know, different breathing techniques or stretches or just like ways to be more mindful. And I think that that's like also a pretty cool part of CTEC that I think that's pretty special too.
You're also a lot more mobile here, which I feel like a lot of data shows is better for the mind. Keeping moving, like I'm currently, all my stuff is set up in the middle of a giant room with no walls. It's essentially the center area of CTEC, which is probably also why a lot of people walk up to me and ask me for help with stuff because I'm always within reach. You can always see where I am, unlike Miss Pagel.
Where in the world?
We literally have stickers designed by Mr. Kohler that says, where in the world is Mr. Miss Pagel? Like Carmen Sandiego wise, and you put on, I have one on my computer. But like I sit there, but then I have, if I want to go print something, I have to get up, walk over and do that. And if I want to go to the shop, I mean, it's shop inherently a physical activity. You have to walk up, go use a power tool. If you want to talk to Laughlin, which occasionally I have to do for whatever project, I gotta walk up the stairs. But I'm doing this all multiple times a class period. Whereas, you know, say you got some class at your home high school, Mill Valley or DeSoto, you're sitting in a chair the whole class, and there's really never a good reason to leave your desk unless you're going to go do something non-class related, and definitely not usually multiple times a class.
Yeah. Like, even like right now we're in a study room. It's like, I feel like with Mr. Hessong's class, like I'm normally out here working.
Yeah, you're moving around because there's so many things you want to do, and they're not all necessarily in the one, like you can't do it all from your desk.
Yeah.
You need to get up and go do stuff, which is part of that co-collaborative forces that, because if I want to go work with someone who's in the design class, I gotta go run around the building and figure out where they are.
Yeah. No, and I think that's like one of the best things about CTEC, like specifically like with the makerspace, is I feel like even last year I think we only had like, because I was only here half a day, and we just had robotics together, and then we had all of our classes together. I think last year. But it was just like really easy to go and like find people that you needed because you could just kind of like stand in the middle and like take a look around and be like, okay, well, if they're in engineering classes, they're going to be like, there's only 2 classrooms for that, so you know they're going to be in one of those 2 if they're not like out and about. And I feel like there's not a ton of like cliques at CTEC. Like I think there's definitely like friend groups, but I don't think it's like the graphic design kids sit over here and the bioscience kids over here. I feel like there's a lot of like, I feel like everyone kind of talks to everyone.
Yeah, like we have a friend from graphic design who would usually come down, work near us, and we're all freaking STEM kids. She's an art kid, and we still hang out, have lunch together.
We still hang out with her, even though
she's an art kid.
We like Shawn.
Still talk to her.
We all like Shawn.
We love Shawn.
We love Shawn.
Shawn's great. He's sitting in the corner here looking at his phone. And like, you know, I'll have in the mornings, so probably you don't know this, but like Colin Devery will walk up to me a lot.
I know Colin. Because he's in EDD.
Yeah. And he'll come up and ask me about his EDD project or...
That's the sports sensor one?
No, that's a different group.
The scooper.
The blanket.
Oh, car thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll ask me some question. Like today, he asked me, hey, you gave me these things last time we were here. Or 2 times ago, I guess. I think it was that last Thursday. So 2 weeks ago today, I guess, actually. I gave him some things to use for his project from the place. And he came back and he's like, hey, I don't need these ones. I need these other ones, I think. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I had to go and get some keys to unlock some doors. But I was able to get into what he needed. Basically, I was just like, he's usually an EDD, but he came and talked to me because I know him and he knows me. And, yeah. And then there's, you know, the graphic design kids. I've talked to a few of them, or illustration, I think, technically.
Especially with the bioscience project recently, when they were making the like dialysis machine.
Yeah, that required a lot of. Honestly, the big thing is that was just a difficult project. I did it. I did a similar project last year for KU Engineering.
Yeah, that was just
basically
scared juniors.
The exact same project my junior year, and now the juniors this year are doing it. And I think they came down actually. They talked to you, and I was just kind of in the proximity, and I'm like, I actually know exactly how you do that. Here's where I would go look to kind of start researching that.
Because there's getting like the sodium ions out of water without like using electricity and like using home.
Heating up.
It's like.
I think they ended up breaking that rule because technically osmosis is evaporation. But that's kind of a big technicality, I feel.
I feel like the biggest thing though that I would say is that like if you've even like slightly considered going to CTEC, like 100% go try it out. You could even like email Mr. Miss Bagel and probably have him sign you out of your classes for, I maybe shouldn't say that, but like you'll be able to come and tour when students are here and like kind of see what the environment's like. And all of the teachers here are like, they want to support you to get to where you want to be and to help you get to where you want your career to be. And we have like a lot of resources here for internships and just to like make sure that you have explored all you can before going into college and then getting $30,000 into a degree and being like, ooh,
yeah, because I've learned mechanical engineering is not for me.
No,
but we do like biomed and electrical, so.
And actually, one other thing. I was in that similar situation where I didn't really like doing normal classes. And so my grades kind of were like, meh. They were fine. I was in hard classes, but I was, B's in an AP class. So it was kind of kind of that situation. And I just didn't like doing all that homework. Homework is lame. CTEC is a cool place for that because it's not like that at all. You don't have to worry about like, man, I'm stressing over getting homework done, or man, I don't want to be doing this work. Like, you're like kids with ADHD, you're gonna be able to do fine here because you're able to get like be unfocused but still be productive almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and a shallow reason is that it looks really good on college applications. I think I talked about it in every single one of my interviews. That was the thing that stood out was my experiences and projects at CTEC.
But probably one of the most unique experiences.
Yeah.
That you can have, like. Yeah. And it's real experience. It's not theoretical experience like that's supposed to emulate how you're supposed to be doing something. No, we're just actually doing what you might be doing in your job.
No. And also you really do like make really good friends. Like it's like cheesy to say, but it's like I feel like the people that I've been able to connect with here are people that are more similar to me than maybe I would get in like a traditional environment. So it's like, because it's people who are like really passionate about like leadership and creating and like doing research and stuff, and getting that environment is, really fun and cool, and I think pushed me to air bump.
It's a little too far.
Yeah, I would say all of us were like pushed out of our comfort zones. And I think we've all grown a lot just like in the 2 years we've been in this program. And
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of MVP, and make sure to stay tuned for more episodes coming in the future. This has been Bella,
Lucy,
And Reed.
and we are Mill Valley.